Hi, I'm Jeanette Roche. This is Bridge City News. Here are some of the stories we're following today. Canada and the U.S. still trying to hammer out a new trade deal, and Conservative Leader Pierre Poilievre is concerned. Plus, for a second night in a row, Alberta's technology minister gets angry pushback on AI data centers. And for the next 3 nights, the Lethbridge Pro Rodeo takes over the grandstand at Whoop Up Days. We take you there.
Your nation. Your province. Your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Jeanette Roche.
Thanks so much for joining us. Once again, the clock is ticking down to a deadline for Canada to avoid new tariffs from the United States. President Donald Trump delayed his threatened 50% tariffs by 3 days on Tuesday night and proclaimed on social media the two countries had reached a deal. Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc and Chief Negotiator Janice Charette are in Washington meeting with U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer, still working on the details of this potential trade agreement. And rumors have begun to circulate about what's in this deal, and one suggestion is that Canada has agreed to a baseline tariff for access to the American market, while the U.S. will not pay a similar tariff for access to ours. At a news conference in Kitchener, Ontario, a Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, expressed his concern.
We are concerned about rumors that Mr. Carney might be willing to cave and accept one-sided tariffs that would ultimately put our businesses at a competitive disadvantage. If our aluminum, steel, lumber, and automobile companies are paying tariffs and competing with Americans' businesses that are tariff-free, then we might see a large sucking sound of Canadian jobs moving south of the border. We cannot accept the deindustrialization of our economy. That would put us at an incredible position of weakness while threatening the jobs of Canadians.
Sources with knowledge of the talks say the forthcoming agreement would lower tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum from 50% to 25% and also change how dairy import licenses are allocated by the government. Alberta Technology Minister Nate Glubish will be looking forward to the weekend after what has been a rough week. Glubish faced an angry crowd Wednesday night in the center of Alberta, the central Alberta city of Lacombe, at a town hall meeting to discuss artificial intelligence data centers. And on Thursday at a similar town hall in Sturgeon County, north of Edmonton, he faced another crowd upset with the lack of consultation on these massive data centers.
You had 2.5 years to plan this and just notified us recently, everyone who lives in the area. So I guess my question is, from the tenor of this room, from the tenor of last night's meeting, from the tenor of the protests that are being planned, if no one wants this, why are you pushing forward with this?
Look, I just want to reiterate, this region, the Alberta Industrial Heartland, has been designated for decades for heavy industrial development. And so this property was originally going to house multiple traditional refineries. That information was always available to the public. Everybody who lives in this region had access to that information to know that this is the industrial heartland. This is what it's designed for. It's been designated for this for almost longer than my lifespan. And so, you know, we're developing additional rules on the electricity side to make sure that we protect the grid. We're developing additional rules on the water side so that we can make sure that this is done responsibly. But when it comes to developing previously designated industrial land, you know, we are following all of the appropriate processes that come from that. Well, look, I take your point that there are many in this room who don't want it. Thank you for that feedback. Look, I did my best to answer your question. My best answer to your question is this was zoned for this for over 30 years, and now it is coming to fruition.
In July, Alberta announced that tech giant Meta is building a massive facility in Sturgeon County. If it's approved, the plan would be to have it online in the next 2 to 3 years. The UCP government is holding a virtual town hall meeting next Thursday and then a fourth and final one September 11th in Grand Prairie. Not only are Canadians pushing back against data centers, they're also expressing their concerns about nuclear power. The Ontario government announced earlier this year that it will build one of the world's largest nuclear power plants in Port Hope, Ontario. Though the news was welcomed by some, it shocked a generation of Port Hope residents who are old enough to have lived through or learned of the community's troubled history with the nuclear industry. Radium and uranium processing was done in Port Hope in the 1930s and 40s, and contaminated soil that is still being removed from the area. Residents say it's a case of deja vu.
People being invisible, people not mattering, all about the convenience of the industry, of needing energy, a community being made to feel once again it's their duty to put out for Canada and not being asked. We're not even fixed yet. We're still in the process of a cleanup. There is much left to do here.
Yeah.
And with all of that unfinished business, without compensation, without health monitoring, to turn around and suggest that this is a good thing was really shameful.
I was very angry, almost couldn't believe what I had just heard. And very gutted to know that we're a community already going through the largest environmental cleanup of radioactive waste to the announcement now of the world's largest nuclear power plant coming in. It is gutting to know that they want to take such beautiful farmland, countryside of our rolling hills of Northumberland and pave it to put the world's largest nuclear power plant. Citizens for decades have lived with unknown things within their properties and their homes, and the cleanup is now taking place, and that is causing a lot of disruption. So it's for the people, for my family and the injustices that have happened, and for all of the citizens that have been going through this. That is where my heart lies, is the humanitarian side of this, and that nobody should ever have to go through this again.
Ontario Power Generation is trying to convince people nuclear is much safer than it was 50 or 60 years ago. It said in a statement, quote, "Today's nuclear industry operates under one of the world's most rigorous regulator frameworks, with the stringent federal oversight now governing every aspect of nuclear safety, environmental protection, and waste management." It says the new reactor will support more than 10,000 jobs and add $235 billion in Ontario GDP over the life of the project. Well, we are entering the final stretch of Whoop Up days, which means it's time to turn up the heat. The Lethbridge Pro Rodeo is now taking over the grandstand each night with some of the world's best riders, wranglers, and wrestlers. Our reporter, Landon Hickok, caught the first of 3 nights Thursday evening and has the details.
Here we go. Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. Look out, leaderboard.
A full grandstand of thousands of attendees tuned into the opening night of the Lethbridge and District Pro Rodeo, which is celebrating its 5th straight year as part of the Canadian Pro Rodeo Tour.
We're getting into what you'd call the playoffs, right? This is it. They got one weekend this weekend with 2 rodeos, and then next weekend with 2 rodeos, and that's it.
This year, organizers say the rodeo's prize money has increased and are proud to ensure equal payout for women's breakaway roping contestants compared to other events.
All right, the Kaylee Cowgirl's out. There's the shot. Hey!
Contestants are vying for points in this tour stop to secure a spot in the Canadian Finals Rodeo in Edmonton. William Barrows, a bull rider from Foremost, Alberta, put up the best point total of the night with 89 points. Sitting just outside of the top 12 in the standings, Thursday proved to be a big step forward in his route to the finals.
That's second to drawn up any better to be in Lethbridge here on a 2-time Canadian champion bull, and going 89 points is just Feels great. It's close to home, so it's always good to come here and have my family and friends come to support me. But no, it's just like any other rodeo. You show up, you're against one animal, and it's just, yeah, you and the bull, no matter where you're at. Just keep riding this high and keep going about my business.
And the remaining nights expect to draw more of the best names in rodeo, including last year's winner in saddle bronc riding.
Zeke Thurston, 4-time world champion, of course, 5-time Canadian champion and the Calgary Stampede champion, is competing here Saturday night, but he has drawn Kessler's double red. So Kessler Championships Rodeos, best horse versus the world champion Saturday night, hoping for a sold-out crowd on Saturday night. So I don't think it gets much better than that.
And each night caps off with the controlled chaos that is the relay races.
Have to run through some traffic as they get back here. Crazy free. Oh, their rider got the horse in the back.
The Pro Rodeo continues Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. each. The tour finale is scheduled during Labor Day weekend in Armstrong, British Columbia, with nationals in Edmonton a month later from October 7th through to the 10th. For Bridge City News, I'm Landon Hickok.
Wow. We're already 4 days into Whoop Up Days, and somehow the week is disappearing faster than a deep-fried jumbo ear. On Friday, BCN's Naveen Day hit the fairgrounds with a simple mission: talk to strangers, make some friends, and generally see what happens when you hand a journalist a microphone and immerse them in a crowd of fairgoers.
Whether it's the powwow, the marketplace, the food trucks, the rodeo, the concerts, or the thrill of the midway, there's something for everyone here at Whoop Up Days. So I'm here in the fairgrounds to ask people what their favorites are.
The food. The corn dogs. The lemonade.
Yeah, just the rides. The lemonade was also really nice. But yeah, like it's my first time in Canada, so I'm from the UK. This is sick.
Mini donuts. I'm here for the elephant ears.
The dropper's my favorite thing at Whoop Ups.
The zipper or the one that goes all the way upside down.
Yeah,
so
chaos.
Fun. Chaos, yeah.
Jerry's soda shop, the sodas.
There's a ride back there like that goes 360. That was amazing, that I love the most.
And this is my favorite ride over here.
It is all around so fun, but I'm gonna have to say all the sick rides that come here every year.
All the hot girls.
Exactly.
If you're looking for some weekend wrestling action, Pure Power Wrestling is bringing the heat and a few flying elbows to the fair with Hot Summer Night at 5 p.m. Saturday in the Cooper Equipment Hall. In the main event, the PPW Championship will be on the line as the Cheetah Bear, Jude Dawkins, squares off against Jumpin' Josh Kirby. Expect plenty of action, attitude, and presumably at least one wrestler who gets airborne.
Now, this is the fourth year that PPW and Whoop Up Days have teamed up to bring the event to the fair. It continues a long tradition of having wrestling events at Whoop Up Days, dating back to when promotions such as Stampede Wrestling and WWF would bring in shows throughout the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. For Bridge City News, I'm Naveen Day.
Thank you so much for that, Nav. Got a giant bouncy castle to set up in the park or need to drive equipment across city-owned green space? Well, there's some good news. Getting permission from the city just got easier. A new City of Lethbridge webpage makes it faster and simpler to apply for a Parkland access permit. The permit is required whenever vehicles, heavy equipment, trailers, or machinery need to enter or cross a city-owned parkland. Tina Madden with the City of Lethbridge says the main goal behind the new webpage was to make the permit process easier to understand while helping to protect the city's parkland for everyone to enjoy.
In the past, the application process was geared more towards contractors, which could be confusing for some homeowners and special event organizers. The new webpage includes frequently asked questions, clearer information, and 3 applicable options tailored to different types of projects.
The cost of getting an access permit is free, so go ahead and bring on the bouncy castle and stake it into the ground. Just make sure that you have the permit first. Prince Harry is in the news again. He and 6 others, including Elton John, have been ordered to pay an initial £9.5 million or $13 million to the publisher of Britain's Daily Mail newspaper following their failed invasion of privacy case.
Justice Matthew Nicklin announced the payment is due by August 28th. The payment is at the upper end of expectations. The group lost a High Court case in London last month, which alleged illegal phone hacking. The publisher denied the claims, and the court found a lack of evidence. The judgment comes as Harry and his family plan to move back to the UK. Harry's legal battles have strained his relationships with his family and the media.
This case is in the final outstanding litigation in a series of lawsuits Harry had filed accusing tabloid publishers of using unlawful tactics. Harry was previously awarded about $240,000 Canadian after the High Court ruled he had been a victim of modest phone hacking and other unlawful information gathering by journalists at the Daily Mirror and Sunday Mirror newspapers. Oh, Harry.
In an era of escalating trade threats and policy friction, Canadian livestock leaders are bypassing the beltway to deliver a direct message to America's heartland. Our supply chains are too integrated to break. Manitoba Pork Executive Director Cam Dahl joined Federal Agriculture Minister Heath MacDonald in Iowa recently to engage directly with Midwest state leaders and the U.S. producers. The numbers show why grassroots diplomacy matters at a time like this. Manitoba ships roughly 2 million young pigs to Iowa barns each year, making Canada the state's largest agricultural trade partner. Now, as Cam Dahl points out, American packers and feeders aren't just buying Canadian livestock, they really depend on them. With looming policy threats like California's Proposition 12 and potential mandatory country of origin labeling rules threatening market fragmentation, maintaining tariff-free trade and regulatory predictability is quite essential. Building trust at the state level ensures that when trade headwinds pick up in Washington, Midwest producers are standing right alongside Canadian farmers, defending integrated North American agriculture. For Bridge City News, I'm Sean Haney with RealAgriculture.com.
Higher prices led to an additional $105 million in jet fuel costs in the third quarter for one Canadian airliner. The parent company of Air Transat says the additional money compared to what it paid in the same time last year, noting its ability to pass higher fuel costs on to the customers, has remained, quote, very limited. It attributes the rise to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, saying it has paid a total of about $175 million in additional fuel costs as of the end of the third quarter. Transat says it's in talks with the federal government to explore potential solutions. Statistics Canada says sales were up in 7 of 9 subsectors for retail sales in June. A 2.7% increase at general merchandise stores helped overall sales rise 0.6% to $74.3 billion in June. Sales at clothing, accessories, shoes, jewelry, luggage, and leather goods retailers added 3.1%. For July, the agency says its preliminary estimate pointed to a drop of 0.8%, noting the figure would be revised. After retail giant Amazon announced the expansion of its U.S. drone shipping to suburban areas, a Texas woman is sharing her experience with the airborne delivery. Lindsay Austin, who lives in the Houston area, received an alert that her Amazon order would be delivered to her home by drone for the first time. When she heard the drone's loud buzzing noise, she ran outside to record the delivery on TikTok. And instead of dropping the package off onto her porch, Lindsay captured the drone, dropping her package right into her swimming pool. The incident occurred the day after the retailer announced plans to expand Amazon Prime Air to 500 cities by the end of the year. Well, hopefully it was something waterproof that Lindsay ordered. And I know you couldn't hear it there, but it sounded literally like a swarm of angry bees or wasps. So let's hope that this doesn't take off here in Canada. And now, here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX was up 254 points on the day to 36,620. The Dow was up 517 to 53,277. The S&P 500 was up 33 to 7674. And the Nasdaq was up 113 points to finish at 26,180. West Texas Intermediate oil was down 14 cents to 86.68 U.S. per barrel. Natural gas was up 2 cents to 2.75 U.S. Gold was up 87.22 to 46.03 US an ounce, and silver was up 88 cents to 68.95 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $8.52 per bushel. Barley is at $6.05. Canola is at $18.26, and corn is at $7.85 per bushel. Live cattle were down 30 cents to $223.05. Feeder cattle were down 55 cents to $334.75. Lean hogs October contract was up 65 cents to $80.87. And the Canadian dollar was up slightly over the past 24 hours at 72.70 US.
Recapping one of today's top stories, Canada's trade negotiators have been holed up in Washington as the clock ticks down to the latest tariff deadline. President Donald Trump's threatened tariffs of 50% take effect just after midnight unless officials finalize a trade agreement or there's another extension. In July, 11-year-old Parker Wells disappeared from his day home, and after 13 days, the search sadly ended when his remains were found. Calls for change of Canada's emergency system have been sounded as autism advocates want an Indico alert to be added. Mike Lake, a Conservative MP and a father of an autistic son, has joined his voice with this call. We hear from him about what it's like raising a son with autism. That interview coming up next. Also, when you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. You can also visit our website or YouTube channel anytime to check out more of our content as well as our poll questions.